Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Wednesday, and today we're gonna continue on what I talked about last week, which was around what diagnoses there are that are related to fatigue and what kind of different symptoms are related to these. And even though I'm personally not very interested whether you have a diagnosis or not, whether it's a specific kind of diagnosis or not. Because to me, what's important is what symptoms do we have? What kind of fatigue do we have that pushes that pause button on our life when we want to remove that button and push play again? So today I'm going to talk about treatment and what does the research say today. And I'm going to be looking over there because I've made a whole bunch of notes for today. And so what does the research say? Well, this past spring, NIH, the National Institute of Health in the US, looked at all the research that has been done over the past 40 years on chronic fatigue. And what they found is that there are certain biological aspects that they can see that are present in people that have chronic fatigue, but that there isn't a medication that solves this. And so the focus up till now has very much been, and in some places still is, very focused on the biological aspect of this condition, on trying to find a specific medication to solve this debilitating situation, this debilitating illness. And I don't believe they will ever find one, because I believe that we have to look at it from a different perspective. And the interesting thing is that the medical profession and other people in the healthcare system are starting to look at this from a more holistic view. And this is the view that many alternative and complementary therapies have had for a long time. And of course, for thousands of years, if we look at traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and all of these old traditional ways of looking at the human being, health, illness, and what we can do to bring health to us. And I think it's interesting also what the word treatment actually means, because it means there's two main meanings to it. The first one is how you deal with, think about, or treat someone or something. And the reason why I think this is interesting, because to me, a big part of the healing process for fatigue is how we look at it, what we think about it, what stories we're telling ourselves about it. If we keep telling ourselves that this is chronic, there's nothing you can do, and I'm going to sit here and wait for a pill to come out, well, I'm sorry, but you're probably going to sit there and wait for that for the rest of your life. But if you think about it as, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to try and do whatever I can to heal this, and I know that there is a way for me to heal this, then that's a very different form of treatment, right? The second definition is, of course, the one that we use in the medical system, which is finding a cure, a treatment, medication, or anything else that will heal a condition or bring some form of health. And so far, the treatments that have been out there have been symptomatic, meaning that they treat the symptoms. For instance, heart palpitations, anxiety, depression, let's see, what else? Sleeping issues, to name some, right? But then there are other things out there that are also part of the treatments. And one of them is something called brain retraining. And there are a few people out there that are working with this, and this is something that has helped thousands of people with fatigue heal. And what this is that you look at the brain and the nervous system as something that is reacting to triggers and has certain patterns that are perpetuating the disease in ourselves. So the purpose of the brain retraining is then to change how we think, and also from that changing how the nervous system works, how our brain works, and also how we react to certain triggers. So that instead of having this downward loop of reacting, for instance, say that we react to pain because we're afraid that if I do this, it's going to cause more pain. So we have this fear relationship to it. And so we're constantly vigilant towards, oh my God, when is the pain going to show up? When's the pain going to show up? Or when is it going to get worse? Well, then you have that focus on that, which means that I'm sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. There, I'm back. I have not great internet right here, because in my office where I'm usually at, it's so hot because the sun is on there and I just couldn't sit in there. Okay, so where was I? Right. So if you're constantly having this focus on the pain, then what's going to happen is that that's what your brain is going to look for. Your brain is constantly going to be looking for the pain. And then you're going to have that negative loop of where's the pain, where's the pain? And when the pain shows up, there it is. And so you keep, the pain is reinforced. Instead of training the brain to focus on other things, to focus on where do I feel good? What is positive in my life? That will create a positive spiral, sending other messages that are more healing to the body. Now that is a very simple way of explaining brain retraining. And I think it's really important to point out here that this does not mean that you are causing your symptoms. Absolutely not. Because all of these patterns, all of these things that create our thoughts, they're in the unconscious. So in order to change that, we need to access a part of ourselves that we're not even conscious of, right? And then the third aspect of that is looking at trauma healing. And there are so many different ways out there to do trauma healing. And the reason why I want to bring this up as one form of treatment is that for some of the people that do the brain retraining, and it might work a little bit, but it doesn't work in the long run, then I think it's a good idea to think about, okay, so what's underneath? What is the actual cause? What's causing all these symptoms? There might be deeper, stronger things, stronger beliefs related to trauma or other stressful experiences in our life at play that keep us from healing all the way from just doing the brain retraining work. And for me, for instance, I had unconsciously adopted this belief that if I got well, I would go back to work and I would get burnt out again and I would die. Because I had read this book from a stress research here in Sweden, and he had shared about several people that had actually died from stress. And this was not conscious for me. But when I was able to sit with that and do some deep digging and real reflection and feeling into that part of myself that was scared to death of getting healthy, because that meant I might die, right? That was some kind of trauma in there for me. And there might be other traumas. And I'm not going to go too deep into that because that's not the purpose of today's conversation. But let's see here. If there's anything else that I have missed that I wanted to share with you. Yeah. There is new research around this that is really, really interesting. And there's one research project that has looked at specifically chronic fatigue and post-COVID, and looked at the inflammatory processes in the body and trying to find out a medicine for the inflammation. Now, I think this is interesting. But I don't think we're going to heal that by anti-inflammatory medication. Because again, we have to look at what is causing the inflammation, right? And then there's another research project that is actually ongoing right now in the city where I live, which is Linköping and in Stockholm, where they are taking a much broader holistic view on things. And this brings so much joy to my heart, because when I was studying to become a nurse eons ago, and I started to become acquainted with how the healthcare system worked, I was like, what am I doing here? This is not at all how I see the human being. The human being is not just heart failure or kidney disease or a broken leg. There is so much more to the kidney failure, the heart disease, or the broken leg. There's so much more to that. But there wasn't that much interest in that back then. But so this research project is so interesting because what they're looking at is they're looking at both the immunology, like how our immune system works. They're looking at nutrition, our body's ability to, and okay, I'm not going to go too deep in this because I don't know exactly what they're looking at when it comes to that. But they're looking at nutrition, they're looking at the psychological aspects and the neurological aspects. And the neurological aspects, then what we're talking about is brain retraining process. And I think this is brilliant. This is amazing. I am so looking forward to what they're going to find out from this research project. And if you're looking at YouTube, there, I'm back again. I'm sorry. So now I know I can't sit in this space next time because the Wi-Fi is so bad here. Right. So I just wanted to share also this article that all these healthcare professionals from Norway and Sweden published in February of last year, 2023. And it's an article called Chronic Fatigue Syndromes, Real Illnesses That People Can Recover From. And here they talk about the necessity of having this holistic perspective on it. And if you're interested in knowing, reading more about that article, send me a DM or a message or leave a comment below, and I will gladly share the link to that article. And so I want to start wrapping up by saying that healing is possible. Regardless of what you hear from people around you, that there is no cure, you're going to learn to live, need to learn to live with it, blah, blah, blah. Healing is possible. I know that 100%. I'm just going to let that sink in. Healing is possible. And what the healing journey looks like for you has to be your road. Each healing journey is going to be individual because we're all different. We all have different stories with us. We all have different experiences with us that we bring into the situation. So there are certain things that are probably going to help most people. And then there are things that are going to be, oh, I'm so sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. Yeah, there I'm back again. Maybe this is the invitation to breathe and take things slowly and have patience, because that is one of the keys of healing. Patience, patience, patience. Because it takes time. It's not a quick fix. And what you find on your journey, I invite you to see whatever you do, that it shouldn't be something hard or difficult or like a chore, because the risk is that it's not going to bring so much healing, right? For instance, if you say that you have to be super strict with this kind of diet, like I was with raw food. Oh my God, I was ridiculously strict with it. But it had other consequences that was not supporting my healing journey, regardless of how good it was for my physical body. And what happens is, if we are like that, we're engaging the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight-flight mechanism of stress. And that's not where healing occurs. Healing occurs when we engage the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, this is super simply explained, because there's so much more depth and so much more to it when it comes to the parasympathetic, which is all a whole talk on its own, and also related to the vagus nerve. But I'm not going to go into that. So if you find that this is difficult, I'm doing this because I think I should do this because that's going to bring me healing, then I invite you to ask yourself the following two questions. How can I make this more pleasurable? How can I make this more pleasurable? And the second question is, how can I make it easier? Can I ask someone for help? Can I don't know. Is there some external thing that I can do on autopilot that will support me? Like, for instance, I have some kind of infection right now. And what I've been doing is I've been listening to this music with a specific kind of frequency to bring healing an activation of my parasympathetic nervous system. And it's been incredible. I mean, yesterday I was completely out of it, sore throat, ache in the body, and today I feel pretty fine. So, what will make it a little bit easier for you? Maybe it's planning. Maybe it's asking some support in planning the food for the next week, the shopping, or whatever it is. Right. So I think I've shared everything, and today was a long one. We're up to 20 minutes. I don't usually talk that long here. But again, healing is possible. And if you have more questions, send me a DM, and I would love to answer your questions. Sending you so much love and healing.